We are going to rank the Scream movies. Each of us has a different list of this, but they could end up being the same, I guess. But I don't know. There'll probably be a couple off. But that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and if you want to hear us talk about Scream 5 specifically, you can check out our Haunted by Tapes review, that coming soon, and we also have a Haunted by Tapes talking about the original Scream, so check that out.
Yeah, check them out. Have a listen. What's your number 5?
Scream 2.
Interesting. Interesting indeed. Why is that? Why is that the worst one?
Jerry O'Connell. He's really...
I hate him too.
I fucking can't stand him. And there's other things I watched, I've seen him in where you're just whatever. But in this movie, he seems like a fucking 45-year-old man, trying to play a college student, and he's not funny.
He's good in Stand By Me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said.
That's about it.
Not really impressed with him in there. The killer being, the mom and everything. You're like, okay.
Yeah, but that character didn't get enough backstory. They tried to randomly throw it in there.
Well, they tried to shoehorn it in at the end without ever giving you...
There wasn't enough development for her.
Well, I get it that you can't really...
And same with the other killer.
Yeah.
All Fantastic, whatever his character's name is.
Timothy Oliphant, yeah.
All Fantastic.
And he's pretty good in there, but...
He's pretty good and weird. I don't think they gave him enough to do, and not enough lines and stuff.
But my thing is, the
freaky Tarantino film student? Mickey, that's his name.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it just... That's the worst one, just because there's some of it that just... I don't know if I'd say it's boring or it's just so close to being so much of a rehash of some of the original stuff. Now, there's a lot of good film references in there, but still, there's 5 movies, and it's not there's not one of them I'd be like, oh, I can't stand to watch that ever. Clearly, I rewatched all these for the new movie. So.
Yeah. Well, my number 5, as of right now, having seen it once, is Scream 5.
Okay.
I enjoy all of these movies, but if I'm trying to rank them on what is the best film, the 5th one is definitely down there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair reaction.
But that could swap with my number 4 too at any point, probably. And it might, honestly, because I've seen it once, so we'll see.
And the interesting thing, I feel like it goes with a lot of the sequels that are coming out now, legacy sequels, whatever you want to call it. I feel like there's just so much, it's new, so you're really fascinated with it, but you don't really necessarily stop to critique it properly, right? You're just having fun. And I get it. The whole point of a movie is to have fun with it. But that being said, my number 4 is Scream 5 because while I loved the fucking kills in that movie... The kills in this were some of my favorite, just as far as the gore goes, the shit they got away with. The special effects looked great, very practical. I loved all that. That's what I loved the most about that film, was that. And then there's other things in there you're like, wait, so basically you just remade Scream 4 with different killers? Because that's so much of what it is. It really felt like... It felt like there was a different draft of Scream 4.
Basically.
It's very, very similar and very kind of drawn out with the way they're trying to reference the sequels and some of the other stuff going on there.
It was much more on the nose in this one. Scream 4 was much more subtle about it. They weren't like, we're doing a requel and shibbity-dibbity, which we're not going to spoil that here for you. But
all right, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Scream 2.
Okay, so we're pretty close there.
Yeah, again, those two could swap depending on how I feel about it next viewing.
Yeah.
But Scream 2, I like it a little bit better simply because you do have a little bit more of Randy. And the film school aspect, I like that.
There's locations I like in that movie better.
But
overall, I just had more fun with the kills in 5 than I had with
Mickey,
the kills in 2.
And the idea of the killer being Billy Loomis's mom is interesting.
I love how that's like a Psycho. It's lifted directly from Psycho, kind of. And that whole concept there, I love how they're able to reference that. And fun little fact I didn't know on that. Originally, when Kevin Williamson wrote that, he had like a 5-page treatment for the second movie so he could immediately sell it as a franchise and say, hey, I've already got ideas on where to go with this. So when he wrote that, he already kind of had that idea.
Nice. Well, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Scream 3. Scream 3 is fun. It takes place in Hollywood, so I love how there's some things there, which...
That's the coolest part about it to me.
I love the film sets for the stab movies in there.
That's why I like it, because it has all those, like Sydney's in recreations of her bedroom and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of tripping her out a little bit. Obviously
I like the new cast that represents the old cast.
Yes, and the fact that they're at the party there and they're like, oh, you're the real person of this, and there's kind of some mockery going on with that.
Yeah.
I felt that really worked in movie. And
I was going to say, that was
out.
actually a good thing, before we move on too far, that Scream 2 did, which was introduced the stab ideas.
Yes.
The idea of stab being a movie in the universe, and then just taking that further.
Sure.
Further, but either way, it's introduced in Scream 2, so there you go.
All right, so what's your 3?
Scream 3.
Okay.
I've always liked it a little bit more than 2. And it doesn't, again, none of them are great, but they're fun. And Scream 2 wasn't one I saw as a kid. Scream and Scream 3 were, so that's probably another reason. I saw Scream 3 as a child, and it didn't scare me. I was like 11 or 12, and it was at the point where I was like really getting into horror movies for the first time, and I was like, ooh, shit. And I enjoyed Scream 3, and the cheesiest aspect about that one is the voice thing, modulating and just being able to replicate other people's voices and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think each one of the sequels has something that's just like, oh, this is stupid, don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. So my number 2 is Scream 4.
Yeah, same.
I really felt like that was a pretty fresh take on it. There'd been some time since the other movies. And
11 years.
Yeah. 11 years is a long time to be like, hey, we're going to do another Scream. I remember everyone was like, oh, fuck yeah, cool.
Yeah. And then you brought the entire cast back, and you basically did what they just did again, but better.
Yes, much better. Besides the kills, like I said, that's the thing I'm loving about 5 is the kills.
I still liked some of the kills in 4. I mean, just to be clear. I liked the aggressiveness of the killer in the new one. Like, basically, it was a lot more brutal and, like, quick stabbings and lots of like, fucking Julius Caesar level of stabbing shit.
Yeah.
But the fourth one has excellent new characters. And when I was watching this movie, I didn't know who was going to be the killer. I was still like, it could be one of these film geeks, but, like, you don't know. And then it ends up being Rory Culkin and I can't even remember her name. Jill, is that her name?
Uh-huh, yeah, I think so.
And that's another relative of Sydney's, which is a little bit cheesy, but I don't know. It works in the context of the movie because they also, like, you have a young woman killer, which you hadn't had yet. You had an older woman killer in the second one, but
yeah.
And then the third one only has one killer, which is interesting. But all the other movies have 2.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Interesting choice. I like how they change it up, or at least they try to make it unpredictable.
Yeah.
But
and I think, to me, that's another thing that works so well in Scream 4 is the first time you watch it, you don't really know who the killer is.
And let's face it, Kirby is an excellent character.
Yeah, she's great.
The other character, like, Gale is better in 4 than 5. Dewey's better in 4 than 5 because you can see him at the top of his game. He's fucking sheriff.
Yeah.
And then the introduction of the other sheriff, or a deputy, who's then the sheriff in 5. Like, that's cool to see because she was in Planet Terror and Death Proof and stuff.
Yeah. No, she's great for the action movies, and so there's some good stuff there, but yeah.
Obviously, that leaves Scream is number 1, which is just obvious. And I've seen a couple people not rank it number 1, and I don't know what they're smoking, but I want some of it.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you rank something not rank the original as the number 1? Unless it's so low budget, that you're like...
Well, I don't know. What's your favorite Back to the Future? Is it number 1? Probably is now, but when I was a kid, it was number 2 for sure.
Yeah, I love the visuals in number 2 a little bit better just because there's some more interesting things going on.
Yeah.
And it's not that the visuals going back in time were boring, but...
And obviously there's the whole
Evil Dead.
Terminator and Alien, or the Evil Dead stuff that you could debate. But again, my favorite's Terminator and Alien in those cases. But it's just because I like horror more than action, which is what both of those first ones were versus the second.
Yes. And Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and it's not even by a fault of its own. I saw Evil Dead 2 long before I saw the Evil Dead because it was easier to get.
Yeah.
Evil Dead for a while was a hard thing to come by. And so I remember like when they finally started kind of releasing sets of the first two and then everything else, you're like, oh, okay, there's some cool stuff going on here. So yeah, very rarely though, a few exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they have a, discussion about sequels in Scream 2. So
Yeah, they talk about, well, that's the thing they do in all these ones. They kind of have their rules sequence. Mm-hmm. And then, they also talk about sequels or whatever the current thing is. Like the third one, they're talking about how it's a trilogy, which they decided, nope, with 4.
yeah.
And like I said, there's no reason the whole requel thing or anything should exist because of 4. 4 did it better, and it did it 11 years after Scream 3, which is how long you did this after Scream 4, so...
Either way.
It's weird.
It's a strange concept for sure because there's so much retreading, but at the same time, there's some fresh stuff in there that you're like, okay, it's kind of... Some of these sequels get convoluted in the fact that you're trying to break out moments, and I feel like you could make 2 really good fucking sequels if you took some of the comments and dialogues or concepts and dialogue from some of these and actually kind of broke them down.
See, I don't want anything broken down because I like having multiple things. I like there being 4. Well, now there's 5 Scream movies that I'm gonna watch.
Yeah,
because even if I think it's not a very good movie, I still had a decent enough time and I enjoy the characters and genre, so I'm gonna watch it again.
You gotta love a good fucking horror movie marathon, right? And part of the love of the horror genre is they don't usually get better story-wise, but the gore and the background shit sometimes gets a little wilder. So
yeah,
and you gotta appreciate that.
When there's lots of them, like Friday the 13th, the best one, that ain't the first one for me. I ain't the second one. I ain't the third one, and I think most people feel that way.
Yeah.
But then again, most people wouldn't place number 8 really high on their list, and I would.
Yeah, when we all have our own reasons, right? So, for sure.
Anyway, that's our ranking of the Scream movies.
Yeah.